Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I am bringing you a tier list in which I am going to be rating the summons of Final Fantasy VIII. That is the Guardian Forces, or GF for short, as they are referred to in the game. I played Final Fantasy VIII many years ago, and the whole junction system in that game, utilizing the GFs for distributing stats to your characters, it was very ahead of its time. But at the end of the day, you were still dealing with actual summonable creatures that you could use in battle. And in Final Fantasy VIII, they are a little different from how they are in a lot of the other games. Some of them are pretty much the stock standard, but others, they take quite a departure from what we expected. So, without further ado, just ranking them from S through to D in the order that I see them for any particular reason. So aesthetics, combat-wise, whatever, any reason, which ones are my favorites. So let's get into it. First and foremost on this list, I am going to put Alexander, the Holy GF, into B. I made the same comment about Alexander in my video about Final Fantasy VII summons, and that is that in this particular game, his design is a bit contrived. And that's just Alexander as a whole, because he's like this giant machine that kind of resembles a knight, I guess. Like an armored knight that projects like holy energy. It's very weird. I should actually research Alexander because I feel like there's something to it here, but its design is kind of contrived for me, and while it's very powerful and very useful in Final Fantasy VIII for junctioning, I have to say that design-wise it kind of suffers for me just a little bit. Then we have Bahamut. So I'm going to put Bahamut in the A section because unlike a lot of the others who you most of the GFs in this game are acquired by drawing them out of specific bosses, but in the case of Bahamut, you actually have to fight him, and I think there's only a couple of the GFs that you actually acquire by fighting. And Bahamut is probably the most memorable of these fights, because you have to go to like the secret research lab, and you have to fight a couple of ruby dragons to get to him. You have to answer the secret hidden text answer. It's very cool. It's very mysterious, and when you get him, he's really good. No, not competitively, but he's really good for junctioning as well. So we love Bahamut. The brothers are the ground element, like the earth element summon in this game, and I'm going to put them up in A. Like, they are not the best competitively. They are not the best for combat or anything, but I love their side quest to get them, because like Bahamut, you do actually have to fight them to acquire them, but before doing so you actually have to traverse their labyrinth, and it's very fun. Like, it's such a part of a game usually turns me off, but I actually really always look forward to doing this side quest with the brothers. I don't know why, but I really like them. They're also really funny to watch them interact together in their little battle sequence, so there you go. Okay, then we have Jumbo Cactar. And Jumbo Cactar is actually also in A because he's hilarious. You go through, like, from the time that you can traverse the world in your moving garden airship, you actually like get to see him like on the world map popping up and down on his little island, but it's not until like nearer to the end of the game that you can actually acquire him. And you kind of get like this, like, I remember the first time I played through Final Fantasy VIII, I had this like idea in my head of like, is that like a giant cactar? And then you fight it, you finally go up to it, you investigate, because no one tells you that it's there, you just kind of have to put two and two together. You go up, you fight it, and you're like, holy crap, yeah, that's a giant cactar. And then the first time I did it, it was hard. I know how to do it now, but yeah. Carbuncle, I'm going to put Carbuncle down in C. Carbuncle is okay. He's kind of useful, you know. I mean, every GF is useful in that they are a junction option, but he's not as useful in this game as he may be in some others. So there's that. Cerberus, he is another one who you actually have to fight in order to acquire. And Cerberus, for me, I'm actually going to put him in C as well. He's not that interesting. He's literally just a three-headed dog based off the same named creature from the myth in ancient Greek history. Or myth. There's not a lot to say about him. His ability is to use the double and triple status on all of the party members in the battle, which can be very, very useful. But for me, that's not how I play the game. So, if there was one summon in this game, one GF that the game had to do without, I would probably make it Cerberus, maybe. Then we have Diablo, or Diablos, I forget how to say it. And I'm going to put Diablos in B. He's very interesting. He is one of very few summons in Final Fantasy history who actually uses gravitational damage. And that is to say, he cannot kill his opponent. The best he can manage is to take off a quarter of their health. That's all that's his whole shtick. He can do tremendous damage based on your current hit points, but it's very weird and mathematical. Aesthetically, he's cool. How you find him, I'm starting to eat my words here because I'm realizing that there are actually a lot of summons in this game that you acquire by fighting them directly, and he is one of them. So, but that fight is very hard. There's pretty much the only time he can actually kill an opponent is when he kills you, and he will. You think you're ready, you think you're leveled high enough. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He has gravitational damage. He can take off however much health he needs to. Then we have Doom Train, and Doom Train is very interesting because he is acquired through a very long-winded side quest where you have to get very, very rare items, and he does pain damage. Pain is a status that causes damage along with a host of status effects as well. He's kind of like Malboro damage, I guess. He's very interesting. I'm going to put him in B because he's far from my favorite, but he's interesting. And probably the most interesting thing about him is how the game does give you hints on where and how to acquire him, but in the most subverted manner possible. You have to collect magazine articles and read about occult sightings and rumors and stuff about, oh, there was a thing here and there was a thing there, and you don't know that all of these things are connected until you kind of get all of the items, do them in the right order, and then you get Doom Train, who is, for all intents and purposes, just as useful as any of the other GFs. Then we have the ultimate GF, the secret one that you acquire by drawing him from Ultima Weapon, actually. So Ultima Weapon is the first big secret boss of the game, and yeah, he's really hard to get to, but when you draw from him, you can get Eden, who is the most powerful GF. I'm actually going to put Eden in D because I don't think he's that interesting. It occurs to me years later that Eden is actually a play on the story of the Garden of Eden, because Final Fantasy VIII, there are gardens, which are essentially facilities where mercenaries are trained, and it only occurred to me years later that Eden looks like he could be one of these facilities, these gardens. So he is the Garden of Eden. Very biblical reference there, but it's interesting. I wish they'd shone a little more light on it because they didn't do enough to hold my interest, unfortunately. Then another one that you have to fight in order to acquire, there's Ifrit. He is actually the first one that you have to fight in order to acquire, and the first one that you have the option to acquire, because the game starts you off with 2, whether you like it or not, but every GF after that fact you have to find, and he is the first one. Actually, no, he's not. Call me a liar. You still have to get Ifrit as well, because he's part of your test. Okay, so I'm remembering things wrong, but he is the first one that you do have to go out and actually do something to get. I will say that. So Ifrit, I like Ifrit. This is probably the stock design of Ifrit I would use as reference material. If anyone asks me what does an Ifrit look like, I would show them this. It's very cool. I like how he uses his attack. I like how he bends himself in half to fire a giant fireball at you, essentially. But yeah, I like Ifrit. Leviathan. I would actually put Leviathan in my S rank here because he is, again, similar to Ifrit. This is the design that I would show people to exemplify, what does a Leviathan look like in Final Fantasy? Well, this, except unlike Ifrit, he's got some of the best abilities that you can learn in his junction system, including Recover, which is the most useful skill. So I really like Leviathan for that reason. I believe this one's name is Pandemonium, and I actually hate it. I've said this before in my Final Fantasy VII video. There's something about wind-themed summons that kind of just turns me off. Like, they aren't interesting to me. They always have a design that's so contrived. Like, I don't know what this guy's supposed to be. He's got like a big trumpet blower thing. He doesn't look like he's anything. Like, it's so stupid looking, and I hate it. Then you have Quetzalcoatl. I know it's meant to be pronounced like Quetzalcoatl or something like that, but I grew up saying Quetzalcoatl, and he is the thunder-themed one. He's not that interesting to me. I have a soft spot in my heart for him because I grew up with him as like one of the first GFs you get in the game. He is one of two that you just start with, so I like him well enough. I'll put him in B, respectfully, there. The second one that you just start off with straight at the start of the game is Shiva. And for the same reason, Shiva is going to go into B. If Shiva was one of the summons that you acquire by fighting them or doing some side quest, it would be a different story. But because you start the game with this one, and there's technically nothing wrong with it, I'm going to give it a B. Now, Siren. Siren is the first one in the game that you actually have the option of getting. It is the first one that you can find from a boss from where you draw it, and that is the boss Elofret. I don't know how to say his name to this day. I believe it is water damage, but it also has the added benefit of causing silence on enemies that are not immune, and I'm going to put it in C. It looks like a siren from Greek myth. It's unique, it's cool. I don't think Siren ever appears as a summon in any other Final Fantasy game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there you go. It's certainly unique in that it does cause one status effect on top of damage, and I believe it is water-based damage as well. So I like Siren well enough, but it doesn't stand out to me that much. Lastly on this list, we have King Tonberry. So if you do a very long-winded quest in which you have to fight something like, I think it's 20 or more Tonberries, and I'm not remembering it wrong, it's that it's literally any number of 20 Tonberries or any number thereafter. You just fight them in quick succession. They are not easy to kill. And then in the middle of battle, King Tonberry will show up, and he is harder to kill than the average Tonberry. I can't remember. I know he's got some very weird abilities and stuff you can learn from his junction system, but I'm going to put him in C. Because I don't really care for him that much. It's cool, his side quest is interesting, but I remember it being more annoying than anything because they are hard to kill, and you have to beat 20 or more in quick succession without leaving the area. If you leave the area, it resets. I'm pretty sure. I could be remembering this wrong. Feel free to correct me if I'm remembering things wrong. But King Tonberry doesn't really, or is it Don Tonberry? I can't even remember. He doesn't hold my attention that well. So, but there you have it. All of the summons, all of the GFs from Final Fantasy VIII rated from S to D in my personal opinion for any old reason. I feel like Odin should have been on this list as well because he presents as a summon. The difference between him and the rest is that you can't actually junction Odin. He just shows up and he kills enemies for free. It's a very useful thing to have happen. But I feel like he should have been on this list, and if he were on this list, he would have been in my S rank above Leviathan for sure, because Odin is forever my favorite summon. In any case, that is my list, S through to D. Comment down below which ones you agree with and which ones you don't, which are your favorite summons from Final Fantasy VIII and why. In any case, if you enjoyed today's video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon as well, because every time there's a new upload, you'll get an instant update, and then you don't have to miss out. It's great. Works awesome. In any case, thank you very much for watching today, everybody. Until next time, y'all have a good one.